Consumers are beginning to feel some relief, hopefully from the high food prices of recent years. However, farmers are certainly in a worse pinch from the lower prices for agricultural products. As we look at Alabama farm income in 1981, we have a considerable increase in the value of the crops, but it's due to the yield increases. Prices are down substantially from the previous year. Soybeans, which is our #1 crop in the state, we see that yields are up from about 15 bushels last year to 24 bushels in 1981. The price, of course, is down by about 25%. We are seeing farmers sell soybeans for about $6 compared to $8 last year at this time. The total value of the soybean crop will be up only about 17%, and I'm afraid that's slightly more than their expenses increased in the year, so they will only be slightly better off than they were with their low yields in 1980. When we look at peanuts, their income will be up substantially. That is gross income. They made almost a wipeout on yields last year. Yields in 81 are more than double on peanuts this year. Prices are up some from last year, and we will see income be up almost 150% from last year to peanut farmers, gross farm income. When we look at cotton, the cotton income is down. We produced slightly more cotton in the state this year than in 1980, but prices are down from about 80 cents last year to about 60 cents per pound this fall. When we look at corn, we see income improving by about a third because of the higher yields. We went from about 36 bushels yield last year to about 56 this year. However, we see the price down about $1 per bushel on corn, giving us about a third more income on the corn than we had last year. Wheat has been the big thing in Alabama agriculture this year. We increased our acreage substantially. Yields were record high. Our state average yield on wheat was about 44 bushels in 1981 compared to 24 the previous year. Prices, however, again, were down for wheat. We received about $3 for most of the wheat this year compared to about $3.80 last year. Income from wheat, gross income, is up over 200% in 81. When we look at the total gross value of the 5 major crops in the state, we see about a 40% increase in the gross value of these crops. However, we have had substantial increases in the price of the products that farmers use to produce the crop, and their net income, even though improved over last year's drought-reduced crop, I think will be substantially below the record that we saw in 1979, and farmers are bearing the brunt of this fight against inflation in the lower prices that they are receiving for their commodities this year.
What about the debt situation of farmers? With the continued high interest rates, how do you see the debt picture for the farmers?
Well, of course, net farm income is all that we can depend on to pay against debt, and last year we saw the net farm income down to about $218 million in Alabama compared to about $640 in '79. So there was very little net farm income to apply to debt service last year. I'm afraid we're going to see a lot of that this year. They have had two consecutive years here of what I'm afraid is going to be relatively low net farm income.
Okay. What can farmers look forward to? What is the answer to helping farmers when they have a good yield and yet still have low prices? What can be done to help them?
Well, there's very little that farmers can do except to hold their commodities for sale at a later date when prices have improved somewhat, and I think we do have some degree of optimism at this time about the demand for our products improving. We have seen the tight money policy in the U.S. showed this has caused a decline in the purchasing power of the foreign currencies, and we are dependent on foreign markets for a large part of our sales. And I think since interest rates are beginning to level off, in fact we have seen interest rates decline in the past week or two, and I think the foreign currencies will regain some of their purchasing power, and export sales hopefully will pick up going into 1982. And another factor here that would help the export outlook is Russia, of course, had the worst crop that they've had in their grain since 1975, and I think they'll be back into the markets for more. So I think we could look for some improvement in our exports during the coming year.
Decrease in feed cost and decrease in interest rate will probably put our cattlemen and our swinemen in better condition during 1981 than they were in 1980. We have seen the increase in cattle but a decrease in swine. Our swine people probably will be fare much better off in 1981 because of the increase in prices we've had. We've had them move up all the way from around $32 per hundredweight for hogs all the way up to as high as around $53. Therefore, their total income is going to be better in 1981 than it was in 80. As far as our cattlemen are concerned, the prices of their feed is declining, interest rate is declining. However, the number of cattle are increasing from about 120 million to 125 million, which might put some pressure on the market. However, with the decrease in cost of producing these animals, we'll likely see the cattlemen fare better in 1981 than they were in 1980. As far as 1982 is concerned, it looks like we probably will increase our income from both swine and hogs because of our large supply of feed out there and a reduction in interest rates.
We're gathering year-end information on Alabama agriculture for 1981, and it could be claimed that we have another year of the great American paradox. That is, while we have nationally now bumper crops, and in Alabama substantially improved crop situations compared to last year's disaster, there will be no profit made in agriculture this year. Now last year we laid that to the lack of rainfall, and that was a fact. This year we have a situation where exorbitantly high interest rates are devastating agriculture. And on the other hand, because of this tremendous national outpouring of farm goods, we have depressed prices. The point would be, what does it profit a farmer in the Tennessee Valley to produce a bumper crop and then find that he can't make a profit by virtue of low prices because farmers across the nation have produced a bumper crop, more than this nation can absorb at profitable levels of prices, and then the consumer goes to the supermarket and finds that she can ill afford to pay the retail price for that food. So the paradox here is that the American consumer believes that farmers must be getting wealthy because of the price at the food market, and yet American agriculture realizes it's not making any profit. It's more than paying its share of trying to get this economy back in line. We've suffered through the embargo, and we're still paying for that poor decision. We're currently suffering 20+% interest rates. It's been accurately calculated that for each 1% increase in the interest rate that farmers face, the net profit to American agriculture goes down by 10%. Last year there was no net profit for Alabama agriculture, and it's going to be very low this year, if at all. What we're going to find coming out of 81 and going into 82 is the continuing trend of fewer farmers. There's no doubt about that. But possibly for the first time in many, many years, it's not going to be just the marginal farmer who finds that he cannot go into another crop year, but there will be what we call large, commercial, and typically profitable farms not able to find the credit to farm another year in 82. This stems from several issues. 3 or 4 years of rolling over losses is one reason. A tightened credit market is another reason. Several of the federal agencies find that they will no longer have sufficient funds to maintain all of the farms in agriculture that they have in the past. Consequently, Alabama agriculture and American agriculture continues to face the paradox of producing crops but having no profit. When a crop disaster sets in, obviously there's no profit. We have difficulty conveying to the American consumer the need for a profitable agriculture. We use such examples as the export balance of payments and so on. But the plain fact remains that the American farmer, Alabama farmer, is in dire straits, is in difficulty, needs the understanding and the patience of the American consumer very badly in these very difficult times.
Right.
Got one. Yeah, way things were going. The rain was dry, yeah. pretty wide.
Yeah.
Probably need to stop up here and just get one standing still and let it go by.
Stop it right here and let it come into it.
We'll just let him come into the frame. Sometimes I'll even just kind of walk the guy.
she sleeps. My lady sleeps. Sleeps.
Good, Henry. That's good.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Now, for some contrast, we could use some humor on the magazine. Holmes, that's your forte. What do you have that you could offer us?
I was thinking of the autocrat at the breakfast table. However, for humor, perhaps the height of the ridiculous would be a better choice.
Let's hear it.
And since I never dare to write as funny as I can.
Holmes, don't ever stop writing as funny as you can. Your humor will be a highlight of the magazine. Now, what else?
Henry, how about including your poem, My Lost Youth?
Oh, yes, Henry, that would be an ideal contribution.
Do you have it?
Yes.
Read some of it, if you will.
Often I think